The New World Order is like a rope. That rope is made up of cords of political, military, economic, scientific, cultural, and religious power that has always been pulling the world to a definite conclusion away from God. Recently, that pull has been getting progressively stronger. Each cord of the New World Order rope is composed of people at the outer layers who have no idea what the ultimate goal of those at the center of each cord is. As people work their way to the center of each cord, the ultimate goal of those associated with the New World Order becomes clear. A one-world government, a one-world economy, a one-world military, a one-world society, and a one-world religion, all enforced with absolute control under a single world ruler. This goal is not democratic. In fact, most people will not want this goal to be pursued because it limits their freedom. In spite of popular resistance, this goal is being achieved through secrecy and progressive conditioning to make the public want this goal. There is plenty of evidence that this goal exists.
Pat Robertson has written in a book a few years ago that we should have a world government, but only when the Messiah arrives. He wrote, literally, any attempt to achieve world order before that time must be the work of the devil. Well, join me. I'm glad to sit here at the right hand of Satan.
The primary driver of the New World Order is religion. After all, people act on what they believe. Financial control is the means by which the New World Order funds its primary tool, which is warfare. We must first understand the tool of warfare before we can grasp the matrix of control being applied to us. Once we understand these systems of control, we can then understand the belief systems of those who are controlling us. All this knowledge is necessary to form strategies of resistance to what you are probably not even aware of. But how did this mindset, control system, and tool of warfare get created? All secret societies trace their origins back to the ancient mystery religions practiced in Sumeria, Egypt, and Babylon. These ancient mystery religions were responsible for keeping a closed population in total subservience to a small elite, which were worshipped as gods, or as intermediaries between the masses and the gods. Knowledge is power. If you know when the next solar eclipse is going to occur, and others around you don't, you can demand a lot from a primitive society when you threaten to darken the sun. People with secret knowledge of astronomy are going to try to keep that knowledge to themselves. The moment they share that knowledge, their power over any society is eliminated. Large groups of people can be held in check by belief systems given to them by a tiny elite which keeps a core of knowledge to itself. This is why the most powerful groups in any society operate in secret. In fact, the word occult does not mean evil. It means secret. You are not supposed to know the secrets of the elite. Once you discover and verify these secrets, you'll be shocked at how the elite control you.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society, and we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. And there is very grave danger that an announced need for increased security will be seized upon by those anxious to expand its meaning to the very limits of official censorship and concealment. That I do not intend to permit to the extent that it's in my control. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. Government at all levels must meet its obligation to provide you with the fullest possible information outside the narrowest limits of national security. And so it is to the printing press, to the recorder of man's deeds, the keeper of his conscience, the courier of his news, that we look for strength and assistance, confident that with your help, man will be what he was born to be, free and independent.
While other cultures were practicing pantheism, the monotheism of the Israelites kept them unique. When the Israelites were true to their faith, they prospered. When they began to absorb the teachings and practices of the surrounding cultures, the Israelites became oppressed by the civilizations they had previously resisted. Those within Judaism who were tempted by the occult practices of the surrounding cultures became the vehicle by which secret societies continued right up to today. Practitioners of the occult within Judaism codified their beliefs in a sub-religion which became known as Kabbalah. On the surface, Kabbalism appears to be Judaism. In reality, it is the exact opposite of Judaism. The Kabbalah offers an occult counter-explanation to the revelations of the Jewish prophets and the history of the Israelites. The Kabbalah depicts Moses as an occult figure whose purpose was to initiate the Israelites back into the more enlightened and advanced teachings of Egypt. We must grasp this if we are to understand much of what is happening in Israel today. We must also understand that the teachings of all secret societies flow through the Kabbalah.
A girlfriend of mine was going all the time and to these classes. They're classes. It's the Kabbalah Learning Center. And basically the Kabbalah is the mystical interpretation of the New Testament. And she kept telling me about this really charismatic rabbi named Eitan who told these great stories, and she kept going on and on about it, and and I said, Susan, I'm not even Jewish. Why are you telling me these things? And she's like, you don't have to be Jewish. Just come and take a study, and if you like it, well, you like it. If you don't, leave. So I did.
Those of you who have not heard or sunk all the deep things of Satan, I know your works, but I have this against you, that you have abandoned the love you had. And the soul beast rising up the sea with 10 horns and 7 heads, and a blasphemous name upon its head, and the beast that I saw was like a leopard. Its feet were like a bear's, and its mouth was like a lion's mouth, and to it the prey knows power. And the whole earth followed the beast with wonder, and they worshipped the beast, saying, who is like the beast, and who can fight against the beast? It opened its mouth to utter blasphemous words against God.
The emergence of Christianity during the height of the Roman era became a problem for the Romans. The more the Roman government tried to suppress Christianity, the more Christianity grew. Please remember that the next time somebody tries to tell you that religion is just a tool of control. Because the Roman government couldn't eliminate Christianity, it eventually decided to merge its belief system with it. The moral decline of the early church can be traced back to the time when Constantine decided to become a Christian for whatever reason. The beliefs of the Babylonians, Egyptians, Greeks, Eastern cultures, and Romans infiltrated much of Christianity as the Roman government merged with Christianity. At the heart of this infiltration was Gnosticism. Gnosticism means salvation through knowledge, while Christianity means salvation through Christ. Gnosticism has always been the primary driver of the New World Order. A military and religious order known as the Knights Templar was created in Jerusalem in 1118 by 9 French knights. Their official mission was to protect pilgrims on their journey to the Holy Land during the Crusades, and they participated in several battles in the Crusades themselves. The name Knights Templar was applied to this group when Baldwin II, King of Jerusalem, gave this group of knights lodging in his palace built on the ruins of King Solomon's Temple. By 1128, the order was given special protection by the Pope. As the Crusades wore on, the Knights Templar set up offices in Christian countries to encourage enlistment. The Knights Templar were a tax-exempt organization and received donations from crusading pilgrims in exchange for protection to and from Jerusalem. Because its membership remained dominated by the nobility, the Knights Templar were granted many favors by European rulers. Through gifts of land and money, the Knights Templar became extremely wealthy and powerful. The Knights Templar degenerated to the point where they practiced idolatry, sex rituals, and worshipped Satan in the form of the Baphomet. In fact, sodomy became a rite of initiation into the order. Unfortunately, those practices are being carried on today.
And if Washington doesn't have enough to talk about these days, the Washington Times reported today that unidentified White House aides in the Carter, Reagan, and Bush administrations now are being investigated for using the services of a call boy ring. The paper reports that 2 of the male prostitutes were given a late-night tour of the White House last year. The White House press secretary, Marlin Fitzwater, said he knew nothing of this investigation. NBC's Lisa Myers reports her sources in the U.S. Attorney's Office say the investigation is not focusing on prostitution, but on fraud involving the use of credit cards to pay for the call boy services.
Pope Clement V resisted abolishment of the Knights Templar for years. Finally, after waves of public pressure, most notably from King Philip IV of France, the Pope ordered 54 Templars burned alive in Paris as punishment for conspiracy and Satan worship. The order was destroyed when the Grand Master of the Knights Templar, Jacques de Molay, was burned at the stake on March 18, 1314. Many of the Knights Templar fled to Scotland, Portugal, and to the island of Malta. Some of today's well-connected youth are still initiated into a secret society based on the Knights Templar, known as the Order of de Molay. The Rosicrucians were a religious order that combined the beliefs of ancient mystery religions with Christianity. It is not known whether the Rosicrucians were founded independently of the Knights Templar. At some point, these 2 groups merged and became one. After the Knights Templar were abolished, the Rosicrucians became the key vehicle by which occult teachings were spread throughout Europe. This has also been the case in much of the Jesuit order, as it led the Counter-Reformation. The occult teachings of the Rosicrucians, rooted in the Kabbalah, had a big impact on recent history.
My thanks to all of you, and now it's on to Chicago, and let's win there.
Freemasonry started when the Rosicrucians merged with the stonemason guilds of Europe. From the 1640s onwards, As the construction of grand cathedrals declined, Masons concentrated less on stonework and more on occult teachings. By 1717, the world's first Grand Lodge of Freemasonry was established in London. Freemasons were initially viewed positively by the public for doing good works, and the number of lodges grew rapidly throughout Europe. The age-old satanic desire for power also grew within Freemasonry. A secret society within a secret society, made up of only the highest levels of Freemasons, fathered a ruthless philosophy that is affecting us to this day. On May 1st, 1776, the Order of the Illuminati was born. The Illuminati were a perfect storm of Freemasonic, banking, and religious interests. If you are truly interested in separating fact from fiction, what remains as fact about the Illuminati from original sources is most disturbing. By reading Robeson's Proof of a Conspiracy, the goals of the Illuminati become clear. Abolition of all monarchical government and patriotism to it. Elimination of private property and inheritance. Destruction of the traditional family. And eradication of all religion. The Illuminati were an extreme sect of Freemasonry. The effects of these institutions cannot be overemphasized. Over 5,000 years of occult history have been focused into Freemasonry and the Illuminati. Around 250 years of occult practices have flowed from them. The modern financial system was created by a family which had connections to the Illuminati. The goals of communism are identical to the goals of the Illuminati. Modern propaganda movements can be traced back to Freemasonry and the Illuminati. Every major war, from the French Revolution onwards, has been influenced by Illuminati philosophy to progressively promote a one-world government. The Illuminati were headed up by Adam Weishaupt. Weishaupt had a Catholic background and, contrary to popular myth, was not a Jesuit or secret Jew. When his father died when Adam was 5, Weishaupt was sent to live with his godfather, rector at Ingolstadt University. Because the university was a Catholic institution, the rector brought home many suppressed books, which Adam read. Weishaupt graduated with a Doctor of Law degree from the University of Ingolstadt in 1768. Though the Pope disbanded the Jesuits in 1773, they were still allowed to teach canon law at the university because they were the only ones who were qualified to do so. This angered Weishaupt and pushed him further towards the radical teachings he read as a child. At first, Weishaupt had only a few disciples who met locally in Weishaupt's apartment in Ingolstadt, Germany. To my knowledge, this is the only presentation to prove the physical origins of the Illuminati. From this upper room, an evil philosophy of extreme rationalism was born. Weishaupt was initiated into the Masonic Lodge of Theodore of Good Counsel in Munich in 1777. Through his growing associations with Freemasons, priests, preachers, professors, dukes, colonels, and counts, Weishaupt worked to weave the Illuminati into the rope of Freemasonry. The nobility wished to become members of the Illuminati to establish more connections to advance their own enterprises and interests. Members of the Illuminati were gradually told the intentions of the group as long as they agreed with them and could be trusted to keep its secrets. In 1782, dozens of participants attended the Masonic Congress of Wilhelmsbad, which became the power base of the Illuminati. At its height, the Illuminati had around 2,000 members. The House of Rothschild was on its way to becoming the most powerful banking family in the world. Mayer Amschel Bauer, a Jewish coin dealer of humble origins, changed his name to M.A. Rothschild. He placed a red shield in front of his banking house, which incorporated a hexagram. The family crest has evolved over time, but maintains this element within it to this day. Mayer Rothschild never became a member of the Illuminati, nor did he finance this movement as is commonly believed. Rothschild did act as banker for 2 members of the Illuminati. Archbishop Prince Karl Theodor Delberg attained the highest degree within the Illuminati in 1784 and was a traitor for France and Napoleon. He reluctantly emancipated the Jews of Frankfurt in 1811 for a high price, financed by Mayer Rothschild. Karl, Landgrave of Hesse-Kassel, was deeply into the occult and was the main organizer of the Congress of Wilhelmsbad, held at the summer home of Karl's brother, William IX, Elector of Hesse. The House of Hesse built up one of the largest fortunes in Europe by hiring out mercenaries conscripted from its own kingdom to other nobilities. Mayer Rothschild handled the mercenary blood money of the House of Hesse by becoming its banker in 1783. The House of Rothschild grew from its connections to members of the Illuminati, and not because the two were combined. Despite their best efforts at necessary secrecy, the Illuminati were exposed in 1784 by the Bavarian government, which soon issued an edict banning all secret societies. The workings of the order were contained in writings seized by the Bavarian government, which took them so seriously as to publish them in an official document entitled The Original Writings of the Order of the Illuminati, which was distributed to the major governments of Europe. Some members of the Illuminati were arrested, while most fled Bavaria under the edict. This only spread Illuminati philosophy further throughout Europe. Adam Weishaupt went underground and re-emerged under the sponsorship of Duke Ernst II of Saxe-Coburg-Altenburg, where he would continue to write books on the Illuminati until his death. The third cord in the Illuminati rope of control was Jewish revolutionary heresy. Shabbatai Tzvi calculated that the Messiah would come back in 1666. When that didn't pan out, Shabbatai taught that he was a Messiah. Shabbatai would later convert to Islam. Jakob Frank thought that the Messiah would return based on tolerating a finite amount of sin. His main idea is that sin should be promoted and practiced wherever possible so that the Messiah would come back sooner. Eventually, Frank also taught that he was a Messiah and that he was a successor to Shabbatai Tzvi. The revolutionary Frankists were a large group, and some Frankists were involved in the French Revolution. Rothschild welcomed Frankism. When Jacob Frank visited Frankfurt, he became wealthy with money from prominent Jewish families, including the Rothschilds. When the French Revolution was over, the Frankists scattered in Poland and Bohemia, intermarried into the gentry and middle class, and took on the appearance of Christianity. You need to know about the Frankists for two reasons. First, many prominent American politicians appear as moderates, but have a family tree rooted in Eastern European Jewish revolutionary heresy.
We have heard that 500,000 children have died. I mean, that's more children than died in Hiroshima. And you know, is the price worth it?
I think this is a very hard choice, but we think the price is worth it.
You'll be surprised to learn that several key Middle Eastern politicians also share these roots. Second, so many people of Jewish background in Hollywood carry on the Frankist tradition today through constant promotion of sin and the occult. Though they were independent forces, the hand of the Illuminati was influenced by Jewish revolutionary heresy. This hand fit perfectly inside the glove made of Freemasonic fabric, which held the Rothschild money that empowered it. Scattered from Bavaria, the Illuminati quickly re-emerged in France within pre-existing revolutionary groups, the largest of which was the Jacobin Club. The Jacobins, with the money from the Duke of Orleans, bought up and transported out much of the grain supply in France to create an artificial food shortage in 1789. The famine that resulted drove people to revolt. The Jacobins told the people to blame the famine on King Louis XVI and Queen Marie Antoinette. The fate of that French monarchy was sealed in the minds of the public when it was alleged that Marie Antoinette said, "Let them eat cake," in response to the famine. Jacobin propaganda pinned this saying on Antoinette to create maximum hatred for the monarchy. It worked. The hatred of all authority in the French Revolution did not stop with the execution of the French king and queen in 1793. By the time the 6 successive waves of the French Revolution had passed, over 18,000 people had been guillotined without trial. Decapitated heads of the nobility were stuck on bayonets and paraded throughout the streets. The Christian calendar was abolished. The work week was lengthened to 10 days straight. By the time the French Revolution burnt itself out, it is estimated that this program killed 300,000 people, all in the name of liberty, equality, and fraternity. The world's first Luciferian revolution, guided by the Illuminati, was complete.
Mama, I have to cheat the tax collector before my own children. Do you think I want to do that? I live honestly, I trade honestly, I want to be honest with them, but they won't let us. We are Jews, taxed to death, forbidden to learn a trade, forbidden to own land. They keep us in chains, they send men here to rob us. So work and strive for money. Money is power. Money is the only weapon that the Jew has to defend himself with. Oh, Mama!
Though Mayer Amschel Rothschild died in Frankfurt in 1812, his empire grew through his family. Perhaps the one quote in modern English which sums up Mayer Rothschild's ambitions is this: "Give me control of a nation's money supply, and I care not who makes its laws." Towards the end of his life, Mayer told his 5 sons that they should expand the Rothschild banking empire throughout Europe. Nathan was sent to London. Amschel stayed in Frankfurt. Solomon went to Vienna. Karl traveled to Naples. James stayed in Paris. The establishment of the 5 centers of the Rothschild banking family is symbolized by the 5 arrows in the Rothschild family crest. The alliance between the Rothschilds and Illuminized Freemasonry continued with this new generation. Freemasonry was a common element with Adam Weishaupt, 3 of the 5 Rothschild brothers, and Napoleon Bonaparte. Napoleon was initiated into Freemasonry in June 1798. Napoleon was part of the Inner Masonic Club, but his imperialist ambitions could not be contained. Keep in mind that Napoleon appointed himself as King of France in December 1804. Napoleon enjoyed immense success as Emperor of France, yet his policies contained a fatal flaw. Napoleon's Banque de France, which would provide interest-free loans to the people of France, was a direct threat to the Rothschild banking empire. The Rothschilds decided to defeat Napoleon's army, not through military conquest, but by financial dominance. Napoleon needed so much money to finance his war that he agreed to sell all French territory in America through the Louisiana Purchase of 1804. Nathan Rothschild in England took Prince William's money transferred to Amschel Rothschild in Germany and used it to fund British forces. Jacob Rothschild in France was one of several banks helping to fund Napoleon's army. This means that the Rothschilds were busy funding both sides of the War of 1812. The modern financial system, started by the Rothschilds, has been funding both sides of every major war for 200 years. While the Battle of Waterloo was a defeat for Napoleon, it was also a guarantee of financial domination for the Rothschilds. Because the Rothschilds had a network of banking couriers throughout Europe, they were the only merchants allowed to pass through the English and French blockades. One of these couriers crossed the English Channel with the news that Wellington had won the war a full 24 hours before Wellington's own courier. Nathan Rothschild knew that he was armed with this critical information before anyone else was. He ordered his workers to start selling holdings of British war bonds. Other traders observed this false maneuver and started selling their bonds in a panic. The bonds became worthless as everyone thought that Rothschild's action meant that Napoleon had won the war. Nathan Rothschild then instructed his traders to buy all the British bonds they could get. When London heard the news that England won the war against Napoleon, British bonds gained a level of value even higher than before the war began. The ownership of such a vast sum of high-value bonds meant that the Rothschilds literally owned the Bank of England. On top of all this, there were the profits to be made from loans to Europe to repair the damage done by Napoleon. From the Battle of Waterloo onwards, the interests of the British Crown and the Rothschilds were so intertwined that the Rothschilds were given titles of nobility. Eventually, through intermarriage, the Rothschilds became royalty. Following the Napoleonic Wars, the Illuminati thought that the nations of Europe would be so tired of fighting that they would agree to enter into a federation. Switzerland was declared to be a neutral country into which member kingdoms could deposit their money. Since the post-Napoleonic nations of Europe were heavily indebted to the Rothschilds, it could be argued that the Congress made Switzerland act as the modern version of the Knights Templar for the past 200 years. Now you know why Switzerland has acted as Europe's untouched bank during the European slaughters of World War I and World War II. The Congress of Vienna resulted in a treaty. Russian Tsar Alexander I opposed this treaty because he saw the Congress as an Illuminati takeover. The Rothschilds vowed that the Romanov dynasty would someday come to an end.